You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's The Amazing Race After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's The Amazing Race After Show.
Hello, everybody, and happy Cinco de Mayo. This is the Amazing Race After Show on AfterBuzzTV.com for Season 24 All-Stars, Episode 10, Bull Down. I'm your host, James Wallington, and with me across the table are two of my favorite people.
Thanks. Hey guys, I'm Jessica Carroll.
Hi everybody, I'm Justin Nichols.
And we are glad to be back in the studio because we've had some controversy in our YouTube comments over the last week.
It's starting to get heated up. It's heating up over here.
As the race gets even more crazy, so are everyone's comments and thoughts about the show, and let's be honest, about us.
We're loving it, you guys. This is like an adrenaline for us.
Of course, no hard feelings, as you are entitled to your opinions, and we like them because we'll give you our feedback too.
Right, and it's our job to have opinions too, as hosts on an after show.
Ooh.
So you guys can bash all you want. We like it, but we're allowed to have opinions.
And just know, we can't all like the same people. So
Yeah.
we all just bring a different perspective
That
and
wouldn't
twist
be
on
any.
our
That
view.
would not be any fun, you know. And
No.
also, we totally asked for it, and our viewers out there and our listeners totally delivered last week. I think we mentioned probably about 100 times to please continue to interact with us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. And on YouTube, I was checking throughout the week, and we got over 50 comments about people's thoughts about the season, about the episode, and of course us as hosts. And I loved reading all of it, even if, you know, it was about a team that I loved or a team that we dislike, and that's what makes the show great. So thanks, everybody.
The conversation continued even over onto Twitter. It lasted pretty much all week because I kept getting like tweets pertaining to the show, even though it was like a week ago.
Yeah.
Keep it up, you guys. I feel really popular when my phone's always vibrating.
Yeah, so our show is what it is because of all of you. So thank you.
That's true.
All right, so diving into episode 10, Bull Down. I have to say, this is probably a pretty mediocre episode from what we've seen throughout the season. But my favorite part was the detour, which we'll get to, but that was my favorite part that really stuck out.
I think compared to last week, though, I was much more entertained by this week. I felt like there were real glimpses of what we love about The Amazing Race.
Sure.
They had to do a lot of different things. There was some real competition. It got a little rough and tough, like I said, we'll be getting into. I was pleased with this week. I really was. I had a lot of laughs. I had a lot of, like, you know, moments of being tense. Like, it was great.
What did you think, Jess?
I had a lot of laughs.
It's Cinco de Mayo. We get it. We get it.
I swear I'm drinking water, you guys. So compared to last week, it was a lot better. Still, I always love when there's more diversity of people choosing different detours. However, the detour of the running of the bulls was absolutely hilarious. So I am glad that most people chose that, and we'll get into that more. But overall, yeah, I thought this was a great episode. It kept me entertained.
Yeah. Although anything compared to last week would seem like a great episode.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So starting at the mat, we have Dave and Connor leaving at 2:35 p.m. The Cowboys at 2:37, only 2 minutes behind them. Afghanimals at 2:38 p.m., only 1 minute behind the Cowboys. Brenchel, 2:42 p.m., and then the Country Singers at 2:58 p.m. I was a little shocked because I thought the Country Singers were a lot farther behind than what they showed.
And they were what? Sorry.
They were only like 16 minutes behind Brenchel, which I was a little surprised by.
I noticed that too when they were starting off this race. You saw when some of the teams would start, the other teams were still scraping the ice off the cars in the background.
Right.
So you could tell that they were all leaving within a really small margin of each other.
Yeah.
They get their clue where they are told to fly to Seville, Spain, to make their way to the Alameda, where they will find their next clue between Hercules and Caesar, where they get their warning that caution, U-turn ahead. Yeah. So we hear Leo saying, we can't let a U-turn go wasted for a season. Of course, Leo, being the character that he is, I was laughing my ass off. Dave, the way they used the U-turn was inappropriate. Here we go again with Dave mentioning the drink.
Drama with the U-turns.
And I don't understand how using the U-turn was at all inappropriate.
No, it's part of the damn race.
Yeah. Everyone knows that there's U-turns as part of the game, so...
Adding that to the list for our drinking game anytime Dave mentions U-turn.
Yep, you drink.
The finale's going to be a lot of fun. We're just going to combine all the drinking games
All the different drinking games, yeah.
We might not even remember the finale. This is when we hear Caroline say, we are against the brunchals. And I see that there's a lot of controversy and a little bit of an opinion going on about why they keep calling brunchals, plural. But Brendan even said brunchals on the episode last night. So you can't hate on someone for pluralizing. Is that even a word?
Two people,
Yeah.
brunchals.
Well, maybe they're considering that they have a huge fan base, so when they refer to themselves, they're referring to themselves with the whole team? I don't know, but we'll just say brunchals.
Yeah,
Well, if you
brunchals.
I watched your reality recaps today, and Marie was a special guest on
saw
that
that.
after show on their podcast, and she actually pointed out that because the Brunchals T-shirts say Brunchals with an apostrophe s, and on the back it says back, so it's practically saying Brunchals back, which is probably why the teams call them Brunchals, just basing off what their shirts and their uniforms say. So. Yeah, at the airport, we find out quickly that there's really two flights that are available to fly to Seville. On flight 1, we have Dave and Connor with the Afghanimals, and on flight 2, Brunchal, the Singers, and the Cowboys. And that's when we hear the Brunchals say that we're pretty much competing for last place, which I would hate to be on flight 2.
But didn't Dave and Connor leave second at the start?
At the mat?
Yeah.
No, they were the first team to leave.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, not Dave and Connor. Jet and Cord.
They were, and they were on the second flight.
I know. That's why I was really surprised with that. They had a lot of trouble getting to the airport, which is always, it's part of the race. But once again, it goes to show you, think how much they could have helped themselves this race if they could have just gotten to the airport and been on that night flight. Because it really did affect them the rest of the episode.
Right.
Because from the very beginning, that one missed taxi, they all of a sudden were now on the second flight.
Yeah, they just seemed completely out of it and unaware.
This was not
entire episode.
Yep, they really did.
Yeah.
Not as strong as they used to be.
And it shows, and this is part of the reason why I think we all love Amazing Race so much, is because one missed taxi ride or getting one wrong missed turn can really jeopardize your spot. And it's like you just never know what's going to happen in this race.
Did you guys like Brenchal's strategy, instead of going right to the airport, to going to the airport later but stopping first to go to a travel agent? Do you think that's typically a good idea, a bad idea, or it doesn't really make a difference?
I feel like it really doesn't make a difference. You kind of have to gauge it. It's probably personal preference, because we've seen in previous episodes and seasons that it happens, but it just seems like that probably was their choice.
I was just kind of wondering, thinking of Jet and Cord, if you see yourself getting a little bit lost, or you feel like it's taking too long to get to the airport, would they have helped themselves by going to a travel agency, and maybe they could have got on the first flight?
Well, I wonder if Brenchal was even offered the first flight as an option, but maybe since they were so far away from the airport that they weren't going to get there in time to even get on the first flight, because you even see Dave and Connor saying we only have 40 minutes to catch this flight. So maybe stopping was what hindered Brenchal from getting on that first flight.
This is true. I think that for me, I would go right to the airport. I just would want to be there. Whoever could help me there instead of going to a travel agency. But, once again, you really never know. So.
Right. I mean, if it's late at night or first thing in the morning where it's like you don't really know, you can't really gauge it, maybe going to a travel agent isn't too bad of an idea. But smack dab in the middle of the day, you're just better off probably
go to the airport.
Heading to the airport. So all the teams land, but of course Dave and Connor and the Afghanimals land there on the same day, and they are instructed when they get to the statues of Hercules and Caesar at the Alameda, your clue will arrive at 8:30 a.m. And here's where I was thinking, oh gosh, this is going to be another equalizer. The other teams are going to catch up. This is going to be boring. No.
And what do you know?
It's not.
It's not.
It's not an equalizer, because we find out that flight number 2 had to spend the night in an airport before making their way to Seville.
Yes.
So the route marker that the teams received at the Alameda said, make your way to Malado Peluqueros, which is where the Barber of Seville is.
Sure.
Yeah, the famous opera.
Famous opera. This is where we discover the roadblock called Barbers of Seville, where a team member must use proper shaving techniques in just 60 seconds without popping their balloon. What did you guys think about this roadblock?
The only thing I wanted to pop was the opera singers in the face.
Oh my gosh,
Like, right?
know.
Like, I mean, here it is. This challenge is already ridiculous. You're given this really sharp, straight razor, and you're told to shave this balloon.
A balloon.
I get it. That's tough to do it in 60 seconds. I don't need this dude to be singing opera in my face. And you can tell this dude was really enjoying the role because he wasn't singing it in the back corner. He was like getting
Right
in your
in
face
there,
and
yeah.
singing
Faces.
opera. I was like, oh, I would have taken everything I had just to not pop him.
Shave him instead.
Wow, yes.
Whoops.
What did you think, Jess?
I thought it was, well, for me, I mean, I'm not very detailed oriented or like good with my hands. Not to sound dirty or anything, but I don't know if I would be very good at that because even when I shave like my own legs, I'm the worst shaver. So this probably would have been hard for me. And it seemed like everyone got down to like the last shave stroke and then pop.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of people doing that. So it must have been super tight to finish it just in 60 seconds.
That's another thing that would have annoyed me is when time was up, pop, it just popped the balloon. That would have made me like,
And
cut back like, oh, sorry, and like
Maybe I'm-
slice them with my razor.
And maybe I'm just like, a wuss, but it seemed like it was kind of dangerous. Like the guy that was keeping track of time, it wasn't like he would just take his razor and be like, whack, right in front of them. I was like, dude, one miss, whack, and you've just cut off someone's finger.
Yeah.
I saw there's some difference of opinions on social media that they thought this was kind of a lame roadblock just because it probably would have been more exciting and better television if it was a real guy from Seville
Of
that
course.
needed a good shave-in.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like some
That would have
cuts
been
and like a little bit of
hilarious.
bleeding? Like it would look be an awful shave job. And this is when we see Jamal saying, I was, shocked because Connor, who hasn't even gone through puberty, is beating me at this roadblock. That was
It was a great line. It was a
hysterical.
great line.
Do you think that the guys had an advantage over the girls?
Not necessarily, but I can see why. Because guys obviously shave a lot, but they're shaving a balloon.
The thing though too is also, unless you're like a hipster, you don't really use a straight edge razor.
That's
So the
true.
thing is that yes, guys shave all the time, but so do girls, and so I don't think anyone was that skilled with shaving a balloon with a straight edge
Right.
razor. So I don't really feel like there was an advantage for a guy over a girl, but I could be
Well,
wrong.
also, girls, I feel, aren't as careful when they're shaving. I mean, shaving your leg, it's like, okay, if you cut your leg, whatever. Guys have to, shave their face. Not that I've ever shaved my face before, but I feel like you have to be more careful because if you get a big cut in your cheek, it's like
happens
gross.
to me all the time. My roommate always points it out, and she's like, you missed a spot, and you're
So-
bleeding right here.
Yeah, I think maybe the guys had a little bit of an advantage because they're used to being careful shaving, but who knows?
Play the guy card, girl card.
saying.
Fair enough. That is, it actually is a fair comment. But all the teams, I would say, for the most part,
pretty
seem
well.
to do pretty well.
Yeah.
No one got it the first try, of course, but I don't think there was any team that
Really,
had a
really.
meltdown
Yeah.
where they fell way behind.
Based on what we saw, Connor looked like he got it on his second attempt, Jamal on his third attempt, and then I really wasn't paying attention to Jen, Jed, or Rachel at that time because, Connor and Jamal were so far ahead.
Yeah.
Once they completed the roadblock, that's when they got their next route marker, which said, make your way to Real Alcazar.
Yeah.
Real Alcazar to receive your next clip. What were you going to say, Justin?
I say I don't want to backtrack, but
No.
one of the things that I hate about, I root for them sometimes, I dislike them sometimes. I really dislike whenever Rachel's doing a challenge, Brendan always feels like he needs to step in and poke his head in and be like, you're okay, Pookie. Just keep calm. You can do it. It's a balloon challenge. Like everyone's having a good time. And he's like putting his head in being like, you can do it. Breathe. Relax. That would make me the most unrelaxed person ever, is having that dude poke his head in every single challenge and be like, breathe. You can do it.
That's true.
Stop. He did it this challenge, and that's the one that stood out to me was stop bothering her and let her do it.
Yeah, okay, well, if it was just like, I totally agree. If it was me, I'd be like, all right, buddy, I can do this. Like, I don't need your support all the time. I'm a big girl.
All the time.
Yeah.
But I think Rachel loves it.
She does.
She loves it. She soaks that up. She's like, oh, sweetie, thanks. Oh.
And like, if you've seen on her other shows that she's been on, whenever she's upset or is in, full of anxiety and whining, he's always there to kind of, rub her back. And so I think it works for her and it works for their dynamic. But I agree. I would be a little overwhelmed.
They race a strong team. So I mean, I'm not trying to say it's hurting them. It just annoys me as a viewer that every challenge that she does, are you okay? Are you breathing?
Hey.
Anyway,
there's someone
I just
for
wanted
everyone,
to throw that out.
If you didn't get mentioned in the comments last week, Justin, this week, you better watch out.
I love Team Brenchel. Be
now
nice.
he's just lying. Don't lie.
Oh, gosh. Well, before we move on to the last half of this episode, I want to give some shout outs to personally my favorite people that left comments, because I went through and picked the ones that I thought were positive. I'd like to give some shout outs from YouTube to Jaybird, Soul Brother 69able, Chelsea M90, Konski Hogan, yet again, thank you for continually watching our show. Mr. Air Sonic, who's been kind of a devoted fan throughout this entire after show. Jeremy Woods, also not on YouTube, but also on Twitter. He's a huge Brenchel fan, so he's pretty level-headed when we voice our opinions, so we appreciate your opinions, Jeremy. And then Average John 123 2004. And then on Twitter, we have Jordan Woodson, which is Bridge X Jordan on Twitter. And then, of course, one of our favorites, Shannon, who's watching live every week. She is at Snowmets on Twitter. So thank you guys so much for watching our show. And then what's our star rating, Justin?
Our star rating, get this, we knocked it out of the park at a 4.5 star rating. Well done. I gotta say, also, I got a really nice Facebook message this week.
Do tell.
A listener, his name is Peter in Miami, and he's not on the YouTube comments, but he was saying that he watches the show and thinks it's great. So another check of a positive listener saying that we did a great job.
That's awesome.
But I do want to say, even though we were giving shout outs for those that said how much they enjoyed the teams or whatnot, also shout outs to everyone, even if they were critical of the show or us. Shout outs to everyone.
I'm just trying to start more controversy.
I'm trying to backpedal for us because of my Brenchel comments. So now I'm trying to be Mr. Positive right now.
I love it.
And I haven't mentioned the country girls and their those blonde girls yet. I haven't done it.
Gosh, we really haven't mentioned them.
Don't,
I don't know if you're biting your tongue, Jess, because of some comments.
So, first of all, I just want to say someone reached out to me on Instagram, SB_son, and said, where do I find this show? I love The Amazing Race.
Ooh.
And I did respond, but in case you're watching now, I hope you are, and this is welcome to the AfterBuzz TV show.
Yay.
And we are Amazing Race.
Woo!
Anyways, I just wanted to reach out to you because I felt
that's cool.
Inviting you.
You have
our accidental
Instagram
viewer.
Fan.
Yes. And going back to YouTube, there were a few bashes towards me on YouTube, which that's great. I love all of your opinions. I just want to say that I am not biased in any way. I'm allowed to have my own opinions, and I'm allowed to root for my country girls all the way. I'm not just doing it because they're two girls. I love them, and they might be the underdogs, but they are doing freaking awesome. And so that's why I love them. I think they are awesome. And check out my Twitter today because someone said, do they even sing? They do sing, and I tweeted a song of theirs today, and they are awesome. I'm obsessed. I love country music, but check it out because they are great singers.
Nice plug there, Jess.
Yay!
Wow. Oh, and an applause from the crowd. Wow.
Awesome. So again, keep your comments coming because we love it.
Yes.
And ratings. I really do secretly love gloating in our offices right now.
We're getting a lot of views, too.
We
it's
have
awesome.
so many great comments and ratings.
And
thanks,
I love
guys.
all the thumbs down we get, too. Too good. So before we dive into the detour, I just want to get the speed bump out of the way because it was just so boring and anticlimactic. And there's a lot, again, difference of opinions on social media where people are discussing that this was just so boring and kind of catered to the country singers because it was just so easy.
Really disliked the speed bump. I agree with you.
It goes back to them just having to carry a typewriter from point A to point B. This time they're just carrying 6 hams from point A to point B.
Well, if we go back to a lot of the speed bumps, even the one with Rachel and Brendan where they had to stamp the shirts, the speed bumps overall have been easy and boring. And I mean, yeah, they were carrying
hams.
That was disgusting.
Let's go back to last season, too, with Nikki and Kim when they had to swim across the wave pool. That wasn't easy by any means for an all-female team. Not at all. I mean, probably for any team. But, you see, Caroline and Jen just have to carry 6 hams when if you throw them into a wave pool, they're probably not going to succeed and they probably would have gone home.
I feel like I have to, 2 things. One, I feel like if you were supposed to be eliminated from the Amazing Race All-Stars, you should have to really earn the right to get a second chance.
100%.
And carrying hams, which they could do in one trip. Like, I thought maybe, multiple trips would be a challenge. No, in one trip, they could carry all 6 hams to this guy. And he was like, okay, great, thanks, done. But thanks about that. Now, my question for you, though, James, is do you think this speed bump was designed after they knew the country girls were going to be getting the speed bump? Or do you think it was planned all along? Because you said it was kind of catered, to the country girls.
We can go back to what Jason and Amy said on our couch a few weeks ago about how everything is planned out prior. And I agree to some extent that obviously there's things that are laid out that can change at any second. Because that's another thing that I think contracts and rules say is that things can change at the discretion of the show creators. But this entire season, like we said about the speed bumps, every speed bump has just been so easy and so simple that I just feel like, it probably was just a little too easy for the country singers. Again, but like you said, a team deserves a second chance to prove themselves. But time and time again, I feel like they're just kind of getting an easy pass. And again, nothing against the country singers, but if the first speed bump would have been harder than just carrying a typewriter from point A to point B, they probably wouldn't even be in the race anymore. So this just, to me, seemed like, all right, another easy pass. Let's hope the country singers can get to the top.
Yeah. I think a speed bump should prove to that team, like, okay, we need to step it up and do whatever we can to win an Amazing Race by making them really fight for it. And just like you said, like, making them, do these like extremely hard challenges. Because if they're really all-stars, they should want to fight so hard to win Amazing Race. And these challenges, there's no challenge. Speed bump is just like, okay, check the box, let's go.
It should have been something that really just kind of raises the stakes a little bit more. But anyways, I guess just, to stop beating a dead horse, I do think everything's planned out prior to the show. I'm just saying this speed bump was just kind of lame.
Fair enough.
So Caroline and Jen knocked it out of the ballpark. So our detour, Spanish Steps versus Run with the Balls. It wasn't bowls, it was balls.
Yeah.
And it was balls with a Z.
Yep.
Balls.
Run with the balls.
BALLZ.
In Spanish Steps, the teams had to go to a flamenco dancing group where they would learn they had to learn and master the steps of a routine. Once they were in sync with the pros, they would receive their next clue. In balls, teams wear bumpers, running through the street, avoiding other bulls, and memorizing a motto along the way. If they recite it correctly, they will receive their next clue. And the motto was, "A matador never thinks about his own death." What did you think about this detour? Which part of the detour would you have chosen?
If I was just reading both the clues, I would have picked the dancing one. Just because I'm a dancer, I can pick up steps easy. I would have for sure picked that one. But now looking at the two of them, I would have regretted not picking the balls because that looked that looked so fun. Last week when I just saw the commercial, I was hyperventilating. I was like, oh, being in that ball, like I'm claustrophobic. But after watching it and how it seemed like you had a little bit more room and just how fun it was, like rolling around, I would have, I want to do that. I'm going to look it up online and do a balls challenge.
Maybe we should talk to Leo and Jamal, like maybe when we go to the finale party, like.
Yeah, I'm going to be
bring a few?
There's kind of, just bring a few.
Let's just bounce around at the finale party.
Got it. No, I thought this was a great challenge. One of the best detours we've seen in a long time, certainly on this season. Just because two great options, two completely, different options. And you finally got to see some teams that have aggression towards each other or aggression. You could just really saw people get down and dirty. I love, this sounds so like morbid of me. I love The Amazing Race and like the risk of actually like maybe having to scrap and like almost get hurt a little bit. Like you're fighting for $1 million. I'm tired of seeing them carry hams. I want to see them like oh my God, they might get hurt here. They better get angry and start charging at these other bulls with all they got because they're fighting for $1 million. I feel like this was the one detour where you saw them in pain and they were uncomfortable, but darn it, they were going to fight to finish this challenge.
And there was risk involved.
Yeah,
which we saw with Jamal.
We did, yeah.
When he blew out his kneecap. And that had me a little concerned.
Me too.
I was like, no.
Is it the Achilles heel?
Oh my gosh. Another thing I'm surprised by is Dave never mentioned the Achilles at all during that detour. And you think that he probably would because of how physical that detour was.
Yeah.
But I died when he fell and he said, I have fallen and I can't get up. I was like, Dave needs some life alert in his life because he has fallen and he can't get up.
And of course, he was like, I'm an old man. Go easier on me.
The amount of times he mentions his age,
they've been doing so well. Screw your age. You're just fine.
I know.
The same thing can be said for Rachel, though, being like, I'm a girl. Well, if you don't think you're tough enough for the race, then why did you come back?
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Great challenge.
What did you think about the dancing one though? Because actually no one picked the dancing one right off the bat.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The girls happened to do it because they got lost.
Smart move on their part. I really do think so.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because I just feel like knowing the country girls, and you know how they race. They're not the physical team. We saw them when they're up in the mountains with the milk. That when it comes to physical challenges, they don't do very well. So smart on their part to be like, we should maybe dance this one.
Yeah.
You okay, James?
Yeah,
you breaking stuff over there?
Kim texted me. She says, hi, wishes she could be here. And then I don't know what I did, but apparently a light just went out under the table. And I don't know if that's...
We hope we're still online right now. Cinco de Mayo, that's all we got to say.
Sorry, but I liked seeing the flamenco part of the detour because that seemed more of the culture of Spain.
Yes.
And power to Caroline and Jen. And a lot of people were ragging on the country singers, of course, which is no surprise. But I just want to spread some love for a second. This is probably one of the first episodes in a while we've seen where no one carried them through the leg. They carried themselves and some ham through the leg.
And in a great attitude.
Yeah. And they never gave up.
Nope.
So you kind of have to hand it to them with that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
No one carried them through this leg.
For sure.
But the balls part of this detour was my favorite. I was dying, especially every time Rachel got knocked over.
Which was a lot.
Dying. Oh my gosh.
And Leo, when he got knocked over, he goes, you know what? I'm just going to roll the whole way down.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So fun.
It was great. And the hard part was that you have to read these clues along the way. But of course, the only time you need to be reading the clues are when all these bulls are charging at you and knocking you to the ground in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Well, I also loved how we saw Leo getting knocked to the ground, rolling around, that his pants fell off.
Yes.
Oh, wait, was it Leo or Jamal? I thought it was Jamal.
No, that was
Leo.
Leo. Yeah.
That was hilarious. Oh my gosh, I was dying.
Yeah, and Jen Cord, once again, we found they just didn't seem to be on their A game.
Nope.
They've been on their A game the whole season. I mean, I guess everyone, can't be on your A game all the time, but also when they did this, they missed the complete first clue. So when they got to the second clue, at least they were smart enough to realize the clue was clearly in the middle of a sentence, so they must have missed something.
Right.
But they had to go all the way back around and do it again because they knew they'd missed the first clue. Another mistake that you just don't see from the Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah, they were not consistent like they have in previous episodes, which brings us to the double U-turn. Because they were losing so much time, they weren't at the U-turn board before the other teams. And of course, Dave and Connor can't use the detour. And I'm shocked that a lot of people were tweeting, why can't Dave and Connor use the U-turn? They U-turned the Afghanimals the first time the U-turn was introduced this season.
Yeah.
So that means they were not allowed to U-turn.
But I think people had maybe just forgotten the rule about how you can only use it one time. Because I was surprised with the editing this time. They just showed the guys saying, we can't use it. And if you're not obsessive fans like we are, maybe you don't know that there's a rule that you can only use it that one time.
Yeah.
That's true. While Dave and Connor wished that they could have used the U-turn, they carry on their way. Then the Afghanimals, Leo and Jamal, show up and, of course, back to their old antics, are excited to use the U-turn.
Yes.
And who do they U-turn? None other than the Cowboys, which is what Brenchel should have done the first time they used the U-turn.
Yeah.
I think that was brilliant strategy because
It was.
Cowboys are a tough competitor, and no offense to the Brenchel fans out there, but it goes to show that Brenchel's really not as strong of a team or as much of a threat to some teams in the race. They may be doing well, but they really aren't the strongest
threat,
team.
yeah.
Cowboys, in my opinion, were the strongest team.
Right.
So, yeah.
I was still surprised by it.
Really?
Maybe I shouldn't have been.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, you guys are far more. I just kind of watch just for the internet. You guys analyze far more than I do.
You think that they should have U-turned Brentchel?
I don't know. I mean, and maybe just because I feel like the other teams kind of realized. I feel like they realized that Jet and Cord weren't close to them. I feel like it was kind of obvious along the way that, at least in the Cowboys, like they weren't close to them.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a while there where they saw Brentchel in the Bulls. I don't know. I was just surprised that they chose a team. I don't know. It worked out well, and they. Like I said, Leo and Jamal, they know what they're doing. They're smart guys. It worked out well for them. I didn't see it coming.
Well, we've seen so many times on previous episodes that when it's a foot race to the mat where Phil is, the Afghanimals always fall short by just a few feet of the Cowboys, which knocks them down a place on the mat. So for me, with them saying we're going to U-turn the Cowboys, only because we know that we can't beat them in a foot race, which we've been shown.
Yeah.
That was brilliant strategy. They can beat Brentchel in a foot race. That's what they believe that they can do. So it made complete sense to me. I thought it was interesting that Caroline, Jen, and Caroline and Jen were so shocked that they didn't use the U-turn on Brentchel. To me, I feel like the Afghanimals kind of got sucked into the Accidental Alliance, and it wasn't really them.
I think
that's
part of the reason why I was surprised, because you just always see them sitting with the group of the Accidental Alliance, and so they just talked so much crap about Brentchel. But then looking back, I was kind of like, it really wasn't Leo and Jamal that much. They were just kind of present.
Guilty by
association. But I thought that maybe they would choose Brentchel just because all we've heard is them talking about Brentchel.
Right. I wasn't necessarily surprised, just because I know Leo and Jamal are so smart in the game, and Jet and Cord are their biggest competitors. So for me, it was the right decision. And even though it would have, they would have been able to like cheer their alliance or their Accidental Alliance for doing the Brentchels, they're smart about it. Their head is just winning the game. So it was smart.
I agree.
The right thing.
Their head's always in the game. That's why you can't help but love the Afghanimals and want to root for them this season.
It is true.
So then we see the country singers come up to the U-turn board, and it was kind of hilarious that they U-turned Brentchel. And they did get a lot of hate, though, for that. They're like, I cannot believe they thought that Brentchel was behind them. Like, how could they think that? Okay, in their defense, in Caroline and Jen's defense, they were at the other detour. So they never got to see who was in front of who at the other detour, who finished before at the other detour. They might have really
struggled, the Brentchels, at the Bull Challenge.
So you have to hand it to them for taking a gamble and saying, hey, if they're behind us, at least we we U-turned the team that we want to U-turn.
Well, and they weren't going to U-turn Dave and Connor.
No way, yeah.
And then everyone else was already on the board, so...
Why not?
Why not, just in case? Which, had Brentchel been behind them, it would have been brilliant strategy, and it probably would have been neck and neck Cowboys and Brentchel, which could have made for a very exciting episode.
Right.
So, the U-turn that was successful was on the Cowboys, not on Brentchel.
The only thing I did kind of find odd was that you could see, sometimes I wonder if the girls don't use as much strategy as the other teams, because if you see that the Cowboys are U-turned, and you know the Cowboys are a stronger team perhaps than Brentchel, you almost don't want to U-turn Brentchel as well, because then the Brentchel, because then you want the Cowboys to go home over, you know what I'm saying, Brentchel, like the girls should have just said, the Cowboys are being U-turned, they're a strong team, let's not give the Cowboys a team to beat right now by U-turning Brentchel. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell the girls just, I'm worried that they're letting their hate for Team Brentchel affect the way they're running the race.
That's true.
If you would have thought about it and said, why give the Cowboys someone to beat? The Cowboys are U-turn. Let them just fall behind and lose.
Right. They're making it more of a personal game.
They're making it personal, and that's a bad way to run the race.
100%.
They probably just, come on, for the first time we have the opportunity to U-turn someone. Let's just U-turn someone.
Leave the passion out of it, though. Play smart.
So then we have our pit stop at Plaza de España. In first place, no surprise there, Dave and Connor. Second place, Brentchel, which I was surprised that they came in second over Leo and Jamal.
But only because of Jamal's accident at the balls.
But they made it seem like that. I wonder how much of that really affected the outcome, though.
But didn't Leo and Jamal officially get second place at the Running the Balls challenge? They did, right?
I mean, they were at the U-turn board before Brentchel. So, what happened from the U-turn to the pit stop that caused Leo and Jamal to fall behind? Was it really the knee?
I don't know. I mean,
seemed like it.
They pointed out the knee at the detour, but then they really never even mentioned it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Leo looked really upset though.
Leo, Jamal, what happened?
They looked bummed.
Tell us the true story.
We'll text you after and get the details. In fourth place, we have our country singers, which means that knocks out the Cowboys at fifth place, which this is a non-elimination. I mean, this is not a non-elimination leg, which has sent the Cowboys packing.
Yeah.
And this is where we hear them say that they were shocked that the Afghanimals U-turned them.
Why?
Are you really that surprised, Cowboys?
No.
Yeah.
And they were a little bummed and bitter too about it.
They
which
were.
again, this is a race.
Yeah.
But I loved how they said victory wasn't ours this time, and I kind of laughed. Like, no offense to the Cowboys and all their fans out there, but victory wasn't yours the first times you raced the race. So I don't know what made you think the third time would be.
Third time's
different.
a charm, James. Third time's a charm.
I mean, maybe, but it's reality TV.
So if it's reality TV, then we might as well just say now, fourth time's a charm, James.
Oh,
Fourth
gosh,
time's a
no,
charm.
Then we're going to Survivor, and fourth time's a charm. They don't win either. So yeah, that concludes our entire episode 10 Bull Down. So let's just dive into some predictions. Ooh.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Before we go into predictions, though, I almost forgot to mention that I thought it was interesting that Rachel at the pit stop said when she's being interviewed about the Cowboys being U-turned, she said, yes, what they did was a smart thing. Well, if that was the smart thing, why didn't you U-turn the Cowboys? Like, I just thought that was so funny to me. Like, what the heck? Anyway.
Well, and she wanted to turn the Cowboys.
That's true. That's
and it was
true.
Brendan, so maybe she still kind of thinks that it was the right decision.
No, I don't know. We are about to see. We're about to find out.
Yes.
But I want to hear now. Every single week, you guys make me do predictions first, and that's just not fair. Because then you guys give these intelligent answers that you guys, because you build off all of my wonderful, intelligent thoughts. So
You're being
Even though-
U-turned, so you
Yeah.
have to do it first.
no, I mean, Jessica, you
Okay,
go
I'll
first.
go.
See how you like it.
First of all, the Cowboys were great. They played well. I'm not that sad to say bye to them because they didn't really have much personality, or I'm sure they're great people, but I'm just not as sad to say bye to them as I would have for the other teams.
Fair.
I'm saying that Brenchel is going to get kicked off next week. And I think that the 3 accidental alliances are going to stay and be the top 3. I think Leo and Jamal are going to get to the first. I think the country girls might get third, last place, and then Brenchel in the second place.
Interesting. I like it.
Good predictions, Justin.
Also, remember last week we mentioned please give your predictions on YouTube? One of the guys, or the name seemed to be a guide, commented, he got it exactly right. Like, he was on it. He had all 3 teams on the YouTube, or was it this week or last week?
Last week.
They were right
I think
on
it was
it.
Konski Hogan.
Yeah. So I want to challenge you guys again. See if you can get it exactly right. Lord knows I never do. So way to rub it in my face. But here's the thing, though. I'm really worried about how much this knee injury may affect the Afghanimals. I mean, it really affected them going to finish the race. We also know by talking to some of these racers on a personal level that they don't get a lot of turn time. So if it is a serious injury, could this affect them in the next race? So
Good point.
I think Dave and Connor are doing too strong right now to fall off. I think Brenchel is too hungry. And I think that Caroline and Jen are going to get, I don't know. I worry that Leo and Jamal, with their injury, may fall off. If not, I do think it's going to be the country girls. Just because I think Brenchel's still too much in this. There's 2 big personalities on the show. Dave and Connor are on fire right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's going to get last, but it's either going to be Leo and Jamal or the cowgirls, the singers.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Good
James?
choices. Obviously, Final 3 is up for grabs, and I agree with you. It's hard to tell what's going to happen with Jamal's knee, but I watched the preview again, and you see Jamal kick a goal. So if he's doing physical activity and playing soccer and like running around a lot, I wonder how badly that knee is really holding him back in this upcoming leg. Brenchel seems to be having a meltdown. It looks like they made a crucial mistake in whatever challenge that they were doing, because she said, "Please tell me like what happened was wrong," or whatever she was whining about. And then you see Dave and Connor and the country singers squaring off in a challenge, which is going to be exciting to see. That is such a tough call. Like, if you really kind of analyze everyone and their statistics, of course, country singers might be the team to come in last place because they're not really performing as strongly as the other teams. If they get carried through the next leg by Dave and Connor, which we see in the preview, they might be neck and neck to the mat, and then we might see Afghanimals versus Brenchel competing for last. So it's really up in the air.
You have to choose, James.
If Rachel has her meltdown and can't turn around from it, I think Brenchel will go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to say Afghanimals because I want them in the top 3
I know, it's
so
tough.
bad that I'm
James, come on, you have to do it.
I'm going to say Afghanimals.
Oh, he did it. He said it.
I'm
you
nervous.
guys both think Afghanimals.
We do.
I'm
Or
nervous.
I
I
think
think it's a
Brenchel.
possibility. All right.
I'm going to change it to Brenchel.
No!
Just kidding.
He just wants to side with me. It's okay.
So I'm going to, Afghanimals, Brenchel.
Brenchel.
You got
we'll
it.
see what happens. Justin, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, thanks again to everyone who's been interacting with us, but you can once again find me on all the social media sites at Justin J. Nichols, Nichols.
And you can find me at DressJessXO.
And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at Mr. James Wally. Have a wonderful and safe, I almost said safe Cinco de Mayo or Cinco de Drinko, whatever you prefer. And have a great evening and a great week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.